Hi guys, JB and Minot here, and this is my Game Boy collection, my original Game Boy collection. I have over 209 of them, almost 3 boxes worth, and although I'm familiar with all of them and their concepts, some of them I'm going to talk about a little more than others. Some of them I've played through, some of them I haven't, but I'm familiar with all of them, so we'll go ahead and get started. It's going to be a little weird trying to get, all you're going to see is the artwork, because I didn't really have time to do screenshots of all of them. But I'm not going to do it in order. Here we go. Humans. This is a puzzle game, kind of like Lemmings a little bit, but you're given certain tools, and you're trying to get the humans from one place to another a lot of times. And they give you certain tools with each puzzle, and you have to figure out how to use those tools and when to give them those tools and whatnot. Bubble Bobble 2. I don't think there was ever a Bubble Bobble for the Game Boy, but basically you're in a platform and your room full of platforms you're trying to escape from and kill all the enemies, and you use bubbles for everything. You use bubbles to hit enemies, you use bubbles to ride on, you use bubbles to float, and Urban Strike. This is an adaptation of the old Strike games. It's a shooter from an isotropic point of view. Mysterium. These are like one of those old, kind of similar to those old PC games where, like Shadowgate, you know, where there's just a bunch of drawings and you go from one room to another and you have to make a decision as to what to do. Go left, go right, open. It gives you a bunch of options as to what to do. And that's that right there. Mysterium. Asteroids. This is a modern update, more modern graphic update of the classic Asteroids game. It's still pretty fun. I love Asteroids. It's one of my favorite arcade games. Do yourself a favor. If ever you decide to do a Game Boy collection, stick with the clear plastic carts. Don't get any of these pieces of junk right here. They're no good for nothing. So they get stuck. The games get stuck in there. It takes forever to pop them out, and like I'm having problems now with this game. Okay. Mickey's Ultimate Challenge. It's a platformer starring Mickey Mouse. Final Fantasy Legend 2. It's an RPG for the Game Boy. Here's a great puzzle game, but it's kind of hard to explain. Tesseract. It's a lot like those peg solitaire games where you have to jump over each peg until you only get one peg left. But this is a little bit different. This one you have to jump over certain patterns, and it changes every time you jump over a pattern. It changes the pattern, and you got to re-jump over it a certain number of times depending on the number of lines in the pattern. It's kind of difficult to play, but it's still fun. It's a great puzzle game. If you like puzzle games, you can't go wrong with this. So, okay. Tetris Plus. They made a bunch of different Tetris spin-offs for the Game Boy. Wordtris. You're basically, instead of Tetronymos falling down, you do have Tetronymos, but they've got letters on them. And what you have to do is you have to sort the letters either vertically or horizontally to make words to make them disappear. It's a great, I love word games. This is a great word game. Very hectic and just as good as any other Tetris game. Okay, 4-in-1 Fun Pack Volume 2. It's got Solitaire, Yacht, which is Yahtzee, Dominoes, and Cribbage. It's a basic Dominoes game and a basic Klondike game, but there that is. And I'm not going to do these all in order, so you're going to see the 4-in-1 Fun Pack 1 pretty soon here. Okay, Bugs Bunny, Crazy Castle 2. The label on this is a little bit warped. But it's basically, Crazy Castle starring Bugs Bunny, and they made a bunch of them, and they were pretty much a hit for their time. It was very in fact, I think it was in the arcades that they had a Crazy Castle, and I think for the NES. But eventually they went to Woody Woodpecker and a couple of others, and they weren't as big a hit. So, okay, Nintendo World Cup. I think it's the first soccer game for the Game Boy, with cute little sprites. It's not a very realistic looking soccer game, not like the FIFA games of today. Okay. Heavyweight Championship Boxing. I think the graphics on this are a little bit more realistic. I think it's from a top-down perspective. It's not from a first, like almost a first-person or third-person type like the Super Punch-Out. You know, I don't know why they didn't make a Super Punch-Out for the Game Boy. I think it would have been great. I'd love to see a Super Punch-Out for the 3DS. You know, an old-school Super Punch-Out for that. Ninja Gaiden Shadow. It's a Ninja Gaiden. Your typical Ninja Gaiden game. Only for the Game Boy. Solitaire Fun Pack. This kept me busy, kept me going for hours and hours and hours. It's got 12 solitaire games, a bunch of different ones. I had one of these before I had a PC, where the PC, you know, you can get a bunch of solitaire games on one disc. But there's that. And the graphics are okay. The graphics are passable. And the controls are pretty good too. Pretty useful. So, excellent, excellent solitaire game. For its time, anyway. Okay, here's one. Classic game. And this must have been an import or something. Pipe Dream. This is basically where you have a couple of connecting pipes at different parts of the screen, and you got ooze coming out of them, and they present you with a pipe with different shaped pipes, and you have to place the pipes in such a way that the ooze loops around and it doesn't spill out and doesn't have any leaks. So, and it gets kind of frank. It's kind of like a Tetris game in that respect, in that how well you do, how successful you are, depends on what shape they give you, what shape pipe you, and sometimes you don't get the shaped pipe that you need to survive. So, Primal Rage, a fighter game, basic fighter game, only with monsters and dinosaur type monsters. Here's an excellent game. It's a simple graphics, simple concept, but it's very addictive. Quarth. Basically, you got a little spaceship at the bottom of the screen, and you got a bunch of Tetris type shapes at the top of the screen, and they're coming down toward you. And what you have to do is you have to shoot squares at these Tetronimos to create rectangles or to create squares. And sometimes, you know, these Tetronimos, they're kind of blocking the way of each other, so you got to kind of find a way to destroy each one. You got to be real strategic sometimes in your thinking. Excellent game, simple graphics, but absolutely fantastic gameplay and addictive gameplay. And some people, you know, a little kid might look at it and go, those are, you know, look at it and go, think it's a joke. But if you get that kid to play it, you know, he'll be addicted to it for hours. As far as I'm concerned, it's a masterpiece. And it's a simple one, too. Super Scrabble. It's a Scrabble game. And it plays pretty good. You can play it solo, and you know, the movements are good. They give you a good random letters. Sometimes these random games they kind of favor the computer character or the Game Boy sprite that you're playing against, but they do pretty good with that. Side Pocket, an adaptation of Side Pocket. I think it was an NES game. This is basically a pool game. Side Raid. It's kind of a shooter where you're in a maze and you're trying to get out of the maze as best as you can. Odd World Adventures. It's basically just a platformer starring Abe. I think his name is Abe. Dig Dug, your basic Dig Dug game. You're going through this and under the ground, and you're going after monsters and shooting with your little vacuum cleaner until you punch them up and pump them up and blow them up. And the idea is to kill all the monsters before they kill you. Mercenary Force. The graphics aren't as cool as this artwork makes it out to be. You're basically this sprite that's like a ninja, and you're going around kind of like Gauntlet-like, and you're going around punching, going through this area, and you're punching out, kind of like Berserk, and you're punching out enemies, and you're taking them out, and you're throwing your ninja star, kind of like Berserk. What's that? There's another game like that. I can't think off the top of my head. It's real popular where you're in a maze and you're just shooting at all the bad guys until you get out of there. Power Racer. The idea of this game is you're in a kind of a maze, and in this maze there are little dots, and there's another racer, and the idea is you're racing against this other racer to get more dots than the other racer through each level. Tetris 2, another Tetris game that they made. And I love all my Tetris games. I get every Tetris game that comes out.